Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Director of Programming for WonderCon, Mr. Eddie Ibrahim.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing tonight? I take it we have some Batman fans out here. Animation fans?
Am I blocking you?
How many of you saw The Son of Batman? How many of you read the Court of Owls comic? I think you guys are in the right place then. So, as you know, we're here to watch Batman versus Robin. I'm sure a lot of you are excited. You might be in the wrong seat, buddy. No, so we're really excited. Really want to thank Warner Brothers Home Entertainment for always providing us these great premieres. So you guys are going to be the first to see this.
Yeah.
So obviously the one thing I do ask is please do us a favor, don't record the movie, all right? You guys get to be the first ones to see it. If you want to kind of talk about it and say how great it was, that's perfectly fine. But let's make sure that Warner Brothers Home Entertainment continues to feel comfortable to bring us these exclusives and premieres. I know that I enjoy them, and I hope you guys will too. So at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator of this panel, Tiffany Smith with DC All Access.
Wow, there's so many of you guys. I am just as excited as you guys are to be here today because you are getting to see the world premiere of Batman versus Robin. Are you excited? So it's coming out on April 14th on Blu-ray and DVD, and it's coming out on HD digital on Tuesday. But like I said, you guys all get to see it first. How awesome is that? So I was a little bit lucky. I mean, I think it's because I host DC All Access that I got a little extra access and saw the film this morning. And I just have to say, it's a little bit creepy, a little bit heartwarming, and seriously action-packed. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so as soon as the film is over, you guys are not going to want to leave because we've got the cast, and of course, we're going to be doing Q&A with you guys, and there's some awesome prizes that we are going to be giving away. We've got the filmmakers here, everybody who's involved in Batman versus Robin, so you are not going to want to move, right? All right, you guys, so make sure you stay in those seats and enjoy the movie. Marcus, roll the film.
Yes.
I told you there was a lot of action, right? That was Batman versus Robin, and I know all of you are going to want to see it again. So it comes out on digital HD this coming Tuesday. Who's going to download it then? Yeah. And the DVD comes out on April 14th. So who's buying that and going to have a little viewing party in their house? All right, well, let's meet the people that made the film possible. First up, we've got the genius behind such series as Batman, the Brave, and the Bold, and the producer of the DC Universe original films, Mr. James Tucker.
Hey, Josh. Oh my God. Huh?
And we've got the director of such DCU favorites as Justice League War, Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox, and Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, and you know, he's Zack Snyder's personal storyboard artist on his live action films too. Our director on Batman vs. Robin, Jay Oliva. You don't have to say too much about this next panelist, but he's the only panelist with an Eisner Award on his mantle. Screenwriter, J.M. DeMatteis. And recently named by Variety as one of the ones to watch in animation, Emmy Award-winning character designer, Phil Barassa. And we've got 8-time Emmy Award winner and the dialogue director for just about, every animated piece of entertainment since they invented the medium. We've got Andrea Romano. Are there any Fireflies or any fans in here? All right. Well, give a wee nice welcome to our voice of Nightwing, Sean Marr. You guys will recognize this next young man from TV's Bad Teacher and his voice for Transformers, Robots in Disguise, and Rise of the Guardians. It's our very own Damian Robin. Batman, Jason O'Mara. I'm so excited to have all of you guys here and to get right into talking about this film. We mentioned at the beginning that there was a lot of stuff pulled from Court of Owls, Scott Snyder's storyline, which I'm sure a lot of you guys read out there. Yeah? So I'm going to direct this one to James, Jay, and JM. When you guys were working on the story, what did you kind of pull out of that? What were some of the things where you were like, this will work perfectly in the movie?
Well, they're just such a great set of villains. I mean, the Court of Owls is like the best villain group that's ever been created for Batman, going back to the League of Assassins. So using them was a no-brainer. We just wanted to use them, but fit them also into a story that would work with what we had set up with Damien.
How about for you guys?
The fun was that we had this wonderful Court of Owls mythology to play with, but we weren't doing a straight adaptation. So we could pick and choose. There was a wonderful scene there, there's a wonderful character there, a wonderful element, and use that as the foundation and yet build a whole new story on top of that. And the story, as you see, is primarily really a deeply emotional story about one man who is totally ill-equipped to be a father, and this kid who in his own way is totally ill-equipped to be a son, and how they try so desperately to find each other. So it's real, to me, the Court of Owls is kind of the playground that they play in, but it's really that Batman Damien story that puts it all together.
Yeah, it was mostly Jam and James who came up with the initial idea. I don't know what
And Alan Burnett.
Yeah, Alan, sorry.
And Mike Carlin.
Yeah, and everybody else at DC. They don't include me in it, but they just say, this is your next movie, and I'm like, cool. I had actually read The Court of Owls during, while I was doing Dark Knight Returns 1 and 2, and that was when I was like, we have to do this. And so, a couple years later, James was like, guess what we're doing? And I'm like, what is it, Kingdom Come? He's like, no, but we're doing Court of Owls. So I was like, cool. And so, for me, after I got Jam's script, I was very excited about it. So when I went through it, and just like he said, I grabbed panels that Greg Capullo had done, and I thought, okay, this would be a good sequence. And other things, we kind of cherry pick our movies and pick and choose what we think is cool, what we like, and what works organically with the storyline.
What is it actually like in the room where you guys are tossing out ideas? Is there one person who tosses out ideas? I feel like it's probably you, Jay, from what you just said, where you're like, let's do this, and they're like, no, we're gonna stick with what we were talking about.
Yeah, that happens.
That's how it goes.
I mean, Jay's a great director because he delivers. I mean, he gives you all those action shots, he gives you the heart. And the thing is, if we did every movie the way Jay would word it, we wouldn't have enough money because the budgets would be like more than Zack Snyder's movies. So, I have to be the bad cop and always say, no, Jay, we can't do that this time, but.
And don't forget, it did be rated R too.
Right, well, that's the other thing, yeah.
And then this next question is for Phil. You really already set the groundwork for Batman and Damien films with The Son of Batman. Y'all saw that movie, right? Yeah. You had a lot of new toys in this movie, but what were some of the ones that you really enjoyed getting your hands on?
I guess Talon was really fun to design because he's like a fan favorite, and this is the first time he's been adapted for animation. So that's always fun to kind of get to a character first. A lot of times I'm, designing or reimagining characters that have like a really long, history. Like sometimes with DC characters, even 70 years old. So it was fun to get to a relatively new character and get to adapt that for the screen for the first time. Also, just the Court of Owls, they're so creepy and cool looking, and we had to come up with a very simple way of executing their look and coming up with the design for the mask. So we did a lot with shadows, and that's how we describe the forms on that. But yeah, it's really fun when you get to dig into sort of characters that haven't been, sort of seen before. Another aspect that I really loved was that opening bit with Dollmaker and those creepy doll kids.
Scary.
Yeah, they were really fun. I mean, one of them had like a blowtorch arm, and one of them had buzzsaw hands. That's like stuff I drew in like 4th grade. You know what I mean? So it's fun
I don't know if I would want to meet you in 4th grade. If
Right. Well, that's a very one of them's got a buzzsaw hand. I mean, you would just throw everything in the kitchen sink at a character, when you're a kid. So it was kind of fun to go there with those characters.
And then for the 4 of you guys, as you're developing stuff and creating new characters for the screen, are there any Easter eggs or things that you guys throw in that you want to give away to the audience in here tonight?
Well, everyone should pay attention to Nightwing's phone. That's all I gotta say. I don't know if any of you caught it, but.
There you go.
I was like, I need to watch it
We got
again.
live one.
There's all of my films. I put like movie references that I love, or like Assault on Arkham. There's a little Die Hard kind of feel through it. I think Back to the Future was on Flashpoint Paradox. This one, I think there's a lot of things that I combine in here. But if you notice, like the combination for the lock that Damien figures out is 1939, which is the year that Batman came out. There's quite a few out there. I can't remember off the top of my head because it's
Also,
like 4 movies ahead.
When Damien's closing the file at the Bat computer, and you see Dollmaker's known associates, one of them is a very known Batman's Rogues Gallery member. So
Yeah, it's on screen for a second, so you blink, you missed it.
Well, no, they can just go out and get it on April 14th and rewatch it for all those Easter eggs, right? Yeah. All right, so let's get into some of the voice actors down there on the other end of the table. So this is the second film in the series, and the way the film ended, I feel like we're definitely going to see quite a bit more. But do you guys feel like you really kind of hit your stride and feel really confident with these characters? And for you, Andrea, directing everybody as well.
It was a bit easier directing actors who had played the roles before than someone who's never played it before, certainly. Not only did they have the experience of working together in some instances, but they understood what the other actor sounds like and acts like. Very often we don't get the chance to record the actors in the room at the same time, but they had actually heard each other before. So when Damien is speaking to Nightwing, he knows what Sean is going to sound like when he responds. He knows what that voice is going to sound like, even though they didn't record in the room at the same time. So I think that the energy, too, was also built upon what we had already established in the previous films.
And how about for you guys? Do you feel like you've really established yourself as these characters now? Especially with you, Jason. I know we talked on DC All Access, and it was before the first film came out. I had to do some pretty funny things with the voice.
You did.
Maybe we'll have you list a little grocery list later, but do you feel like this character is yours now?
No, I think Batman is shared by many actors and many portrayals. I think this is my 4th film, second in the series, but my 4th film voicing Batman and Bruce, and I think what was different about this was I got to spend more time with Bruce. So I felt slightly more confident voicing Batman, but I was definitely exploring sort of new frontiers, if you like, with Bruce Wayne. There was definitely stuff I hadn't done before, and I think this is, for me anyway, this was the most time I'd spent voicing Bruce.
One of my favorite scenes is the fight sequence between you and Robin, and just Andrea, when we talked earlier too, you kind of did the little punches, how you take a punch, how you give a punch, the sounds for that. And it was so interesting that you can give so much. For Jason, kind of the exhale and things were so much more drawn back because I feel like you were holding back. How did that coaching session go along? And then for you as well, Stuart.
How did the recording session go for those kind of fight scenes?
Yeah.
Long and exhausting.
Yeah.
The trick is because there's so many punches thrown and so many impacts taken, trying to find variety so that it doesn't sound like and I mean nothing negative, but it doesn't sound like a video game where every punch is every impact is You want to get as much variety as you can, and it does get to a point where there's only so many sounds you can make and only so much you can demand of an actor's voice, because it's a little bit trying. I think you guys would agree that, I mean, there were some sessions, I don't remember if you each remember, but I'm sure we did at least 2.5 hours with you, Jason, probably equally as much with you, Stuart. What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think you had as much, Sean, because
No.
there's that first scene that's so intense where you have so much fighting. Well, you can get all those things shoved through your body, those things that go back, and
But that's what she's so good. I mean, you just did a few grunts here, but we were talking about grunting before and how it's the first time I've ever welcomed a line reading by anybody. You know, just say, you know, give me a grunt reading. Like, tell me exactly what it sounds like. Because you're right. It is like, it's not just ooh, like. And she's sort of a genius at it. So I was like, just show me how to do it, and I'll just mimic you. So it's kind of like ooh, ooh. You know?
just do it like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about for you, Stuart? Me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
How do you grunt?
Should I just call you Robin instead?
Give us one.
Yeah, definitely. Andrea was a excellent help with the different fight scenes. Helped me get the variety going, and yeah, just making sure that the fight scenes are kept interesting and always keep the audience's attention. And they were definitely a lot of fun to do, although very tiring.
And there's definitely a couple of voices in here that you guys probably recognize from other DC properties. Jeremy Sisto is back, and in this one, he's voicing Talon. So how did that kind of come about? Because he'd previously done Batman.
Yeah, I liked working with Jeremy so much before, and it wasn't an enormous role as far as, I mean, it was Batman, it's an enormous role, but it wasn't a tremendous amount of lines in the previous project we'd done before. So we've been looking for something to work with Jeremy with, you know, again. And at that time when we recorded him previously, he was in New York and we were in Los Angeles, and that's always a little bit, I don't know, I like having the actor in the room with me at the same time. And Jeremy's been shooting in Los
You
Angeles.
like being able to actually punch them to get those grunts,
When
right?
I can. When I can. But it was nice to know that he was in town and available when, you know, we could work out the schedule within our production period. And then we found this nice role. The problem with the characters like Talon or Grandmaster or any of those characters, they're masked. And so you have to have voices that are distinctive enough so when you have, say, 2 or 3 masked characters speaking at the same time so that you can tell who's speaking. There's that one scene where it took me a moment to figure out, who was that? Is that our lieutenant? Or is that the Grandmaster speaking? So we tried to find voices with some distinctive tones so that they could, when they were masked, we could tell who they were. And then there was that tricky thing of the Grandmaster actually being Samantha and making sure that the actor who voiced that was Robin Atkin Downs, who's so very talented. He had to sort of explore his more feminine side so that when we realized that that was actually a woman speaking through that mask and through that character, that it actually made sense. But there are some other Easter eggs, if you will. There's, of course, you heard Kevin Conroy in there, yes?
I was going to say, talk about recognizable voices.
And you know, Kevin, of course, has played Thomas Wayne before. And there was a really interesting thing that happened in this too. You know, we do this, I don't know, what do you guys think? It was over what? 2-month period, the directing initially, the initial recording, maybe 2 months it took us. And so, you know, we already had Stuart, we had recorded him before on a previous one, we recorded him. I had to cast the voice of young Bruce Wayne. And I auditioned a bunch of kids and I heard this terrific actor named Griffin Gluck. And he was just wonderful. We all loved him and we booked him. We recorded him, by the time we recorded him, he was in Texas or something, so we recorded him ISDN. And then we realized, you know what, he sounds a little bit like Stuart. And I wonder if that's gonna be a problem. And then I thought, now wait a minute, we've got Bruce Wayne's son, Stuart, and we've got young Bruce Wayne, Griffin, and they sound alike. That actually makes sense. Because you know how family voices sound the same? So you answer the phone and somebody sounded just like your mother. Oh, he sounded just like your father. So it actually kind of ultimately worked, and I was really glad to see that when I finally screened it all together because we were concerned about that.
And I know that sometimes you don't all get to be in the voice booths together, but I think that there was some Batmans crossing over at some point. Were you ever there when Kevin was there, Jason?
I wasn't there on that particular occasion. I had met Kevin a couple of years before when I first started work on Justice League War, and I think he had just got wind that I was going to be voicing Batman. And I said, I'm Jason, very pleased to meet you, and he choked me.
I was like, did you feel like you had to drop your voice and do Batman when you said hello to him?
My God, no, I wouldn't dare do Batman in his presence. But he literally just put his hands around my throat and choked me. it was like a scene from the movie we just watched. I mean, I think he was joking. I'm still to this day, I'm not sure.
So we just choked you and walked. He was like, "Peace out, bro. That's all I gotta do."
Yeah, but I sort of feel like, well, at least I hope that, because I didn't meet him this time around, but that he did Thomas Wayne in this, is sort of a little nod that he's acknowledged that there can be other voices, and you know, we're all part of the same family. I think.
As he runs on stage and chokes you again.
Yeah, he's got strong hands, just so you know. Famous for his voice, but his hands are big.
And we haven't talked that much or gotten too much into Nightwing yet. But let's talk about that. I feel like in this film, you're kind of the middleman between these two and sounding board, and they're kind of telling you where each of them are at. And I'm just gonna put it out there, like, I feel like maybe there could be a Nightwing standalone coming, because you were incredible. Right? Right, guys?
Aw, shucks.
The goal was to make one person blush, and I think I did it. Yes!
Yeah, I have no idea.
What was it like though doing some of that stuff? Because as you've said, I don't know if you guys were in the voice booth together, but there was so much where you really had to play off of the emotions coming from both of them.
Yeah, no, I was completely alone. I was completely alone on both movies, but I think, as Andre was saying before, coming back to it the second time because I knew these guys and I knew their work and I heard their voices at this time, it was a little easier. And I think we, you know, in Son of Batman, I think a lot of the seeds were planted, this sort of dysfunctional dynamic between Nightwing and Robin, and you know, this camaraderie between Nightwing and Batman. So I loved sort of the trio, and that was a lot easier to come to, and sort of was easier for me to kind of express, you know, the second time around.
Well, another favorite moment of mine is when you get knocked down and fall into the chair, and you're just kind of sitting there looking up at David.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, fun for you.
I mean, you didn't actually get punched by him, so...
No, I didn't. Didn't I look great though?
You did. You looked incredible, as you should. So Stuart, for you playing this role, I mean, just getting to be in this venue and have everybody here watch the film. You're 16, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you go to school and you're like, yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Robin. How does that feel? How does that go over?
It is definitely an awesome feeling getting to go around and kind of know the feeling because, you know, my teachers and actually all my friends have wanted side CDs from the movies ever since they heard about it. So that's kind of cool, getting to go around and have a little reputation for myself. I have a nickname, Son of Batman. How you doing, Son of Batman? How you doing?
Do you feel just a little bit more badass in real life?
I guess being Damien has made me feel a little bit more of a cool guy. Yeah, in real life I'm somewhat of more of a lover than I am a fighter, but I'm still it's cool getting to be on the other side.
That was your pitch for a prom date this year, right? It'll happen. I don't think you have anything to worry about. We haven't got to talk much either about the creepy factor in this one. The beginning scene with the doll maker, another incredible Easter egg of a voice. Weird Al. How did that come about?
I know Al for a long time. As a matter of fact, oddly enough, my husband, before I met him, designed Al's first album cover. So I guess it's a very strange sort of thing. But Al, I always like to cast against type, and you wouldn't naturally think of Al for this role, one would think, because I've used him quite often on other things, but always kind of in a more comic role. And I thought, let's do something creepy with Al. And one of the funny things was, I thought his performance was terrific, and I know we technically played with it a little bit, but it was this acting, I think that was the creepiest. But whenever we get ready to prepare the end credits, I said, so how would you like your end credit? He said, maybe not Weird Al for this one. Maybe just Al Yankovic. Okay, I understand that. But he did a really nice job, and you know, he did the initial record, and then we always have to go back in and do ADR to picture because there's physical things that happen that we just can't anticipate. And so all that crying and screaming as he's being pulled back in the earlier scenes was all done to picture. And he hasn't had a lot of experience doing that. He was really quite good at it. And there's that, I don't know if you could hear it so much, but he's got a tiny, it's like an S that's not clear. It's not a lift. It's a slight, and there's something childish about that, and I thought that was so perfect for this character to have that sort of childish, and especially when he's crying, no, I love you, kid, and it's got that, I thought it was great.
He was perfectly terrifying, that is for sure. I was already scared of dolls, and now it's even worse. And then for you guys over here, just the themes throughout this one, I really felt like there was a lot of mentorship, and then there were a lot more twists in this one. Was that something that you guys set out to do from the very beginning?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, we always try to do that. So with this one, I think with the Batman stuff, and particularly now that we're have Damian, the whole father-son dynamic brings so much more to the table than what usually goes with Batman. I mean, there's a lot that goes with Batman, but I think all of us are used to it because it's just, we know what a good Batman story is. But never has he had to deal with an actual biological son who's as messed up as Damian, I mean, it's one thing to mentor Robin or Dick Grayson, but Damian is his blood son, and that brings a whole set of other issues to Batman that he's never dealt with. So that kind of thing really gives us more fuel for these stories.
And it was even in the backstory with Talon as well.
Yeah, I mean, the whole theme throughout this is messed up fathers and son relationships, basically. I mean, even Dollmaker had a really messed up father-son relationship, so I don't know if we went in knowing that was going to happen. But
I didn't realize it until I saw it.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool. Right. We're so brilliant that we didn't know it.
Yeah, one of the things that I think I love about at least this storyline for Batman is that, I mean, we've seen Batman before, he kicks ass and takes names, and we love him for that. And I think it was a great idea that James had and Alan and everybody else at DC to introduce Damian into the storyline, because if you think about it, we've never seen Father Bruce Wayne. I mean, we've seen superhero Batman, we've seen Bruce Wayne, the billionaire, and his lifestyle, but now we introduce his biological son, and I think his decisions are really messed up because of that, because he doesn't know how to react, because he didn't grow up without a father. Thomas Wayne was taken away from him at an early age, as although Alfred did kind of assume the role. I hope you guys picked that up in there. I wanted to get across in that flashback sequence in the museum that was the moment there that Alfred wasn't just a butler. He was talking. If you notice, he made little Bruce a sandwich because he doesn't know how to raise a kid. And so this kid comes home at like 3 a.m. and he's crying, and Alfred's like, "Would you like a sandwich?" But when he opens up to Alfred, that moment at the end when Bruce is dying, that's why I like doing the cross-cutting. I like that moment where Bruce is dying next to the T-Rex skull, and he flashes back to the moment when Alfred actually touches him and kind of assumes that role, because I think Alfred knows that if I don't do something for this boy, I don't know where he's going to go. And I think Bruce feels that way. He feels like I have to be something to Damian, but he doesn't know how. So if you notice in the beginning of the film, he's very cold to Damian because he doesn't know how to react to this boy. But at the end, like everything, everybody just needs a hug, and that's all. That's what it needs. And that basically fixes everything.
The other thing is with a character like Batman, how many years? 75 years of Batman. We've explored from every possible angle, and by bringing Damian in, we're getting to see this character in a way we've never seen him before. We're shining a light on a part of his psyche and his soul that's never been touched before, and that to find something new in a character like Batman is a phenomenal thing.
All right, well, since you guys all came out to see this movie, I think it's about time to hand it over to you guys. Let's take some fan questions for the panelists. Who do we have first? There's a mic. Oh, it's Batman.
I love that costume.
Wow. Impressive.
What's your name? I mean, I know it's Bruce Which one do you want to go by tonight?
I'm Batman. I was the same Batman from last year, the first one.
Oh.
Anyways, this year it seemed like the voice actors were much more livelier, better. I want to know from Andrea Romano and the voice actors, what did you learn from last year? What did you do different?
Well, there's part of it's just plain experience. The more you do it, the better you get at it. You thought they were more active, did you say? I mean, the piece itself demands more, there's so much physical action in this. I don't even know how many fight scenes. There were some fight scenes that we had to do that actually had, when Jay would be there, we'd have to run it frame by frame to see Jay explain as it went through. Okay, well, actually Damien's jumping up and he's doing a double kick and then hitting the ground and then throwing a batarang and then kicking again twice and then flipping and coming back, and that happens in a second.
My God.
It was really unbelievable. And so that simply, energy-wise, action-wise, makes these guys do so much more.
I think it helps if you beat up the voice actors as much as possible. That usually helps.
I think also though that in Son of Batman there was a lot of setup of the Bruce and Damien story, and here we had a lot of that payoff. You know, we could really get into the emotion of their relationship and all of the father-son relationships in the film. Obviously, there's more than one; there are multiple. And I know I can only speak for myself, but I really enjoyed exploring that as an actor. And obviously, scenes like the one where he gets drugged by the Court of Owls and sort of goes into this mind warp is just where the meat is, you know, for an actor. So I just enjoyed playing it.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Andrea. It definitely comes from experience as a first off, because you really get to fit into the character's shoes better, first off. And also, you know, she said, you know, it demands definitely a lot more energy and the different shots. And I guess also because this concept is a bit maybe deeper, I would say, because it relates to like the father-son relationships. Like Damien, he's basically reached that stage in his life where he's wondering like who he is, what he wants to do with his life. So obviously there's conflicts with that, and that's kind of like what you see somewhat in everyday life. So it's a lot more relatable, I guess, and that really helps you bring out the energy.
Good answer, Stuart.
Thank you.
And I forgot to mention, you asked a great question to begin with, but we are giving prizes for the best questions tonight, so make sure you give some really good questions for these guys. Are you okay? You good? I love that these two are costumed already. What is your name and what is your question?
Hello.
Come on, man.
This question, all take it out.
What's your name?
Dick Grayson. I'm just kidding. This question goes up to the wonderful people up in the panel, especially towards Jason, Stewart, and Sean. From which characters between Batman, Robin, and Nightwing would have been an exceptional member to the Court of Owls? Period.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Put a mask on.
Please don't put the mask on.
You know, I thought I
Really
saw
uncomfortable
people
with that mask.
I thought I saw a few out there, and I thought, am I tripping right now, or is this the Court of Owls like right now? Are we on trial?
Everyone in the audience puts a mask on at the same time.
Oh my gosh, no. I don't know what's creepier, the dolls or the Court of Owls masks.
It's Italian thing.
You want to answer that, John?
I mean, I don't know. All three of us.
I think Nightwing would make it better, because he's got that kind of rogue, renegade kind of a thing. I don't think Batman would get caught up in any kind of society, but I don't know, maybe Nightwing. Maybe Damien of the future, the dark Damien that could be the Damien of Christmas future.
As he slowly brings it on now. What's your name? What's your question?
Berto, and I got cookies for you. No, I'm kidding.
What?
No, you're always searching for cookies. Never mind. Sorry. Mr. Tucker.
Oh, yes.
The changes are going on in the New 52.
Yeah.
Will this affect the animation process? And is there a Superman animated coming on the way? Trunks or no trunks?
It's a lot of questions.
Well, you definitely Trunks.
Let's see. First one first. New 52 comic book stuff doesn't affect us. we haven't really been doing strict adaptations anyway, except for War and Atlantis, and those weren't that strict. So no, we're going to go on our own path. We'll still keep our design sensibility with Phil, of course, but we were already veering into our own continuity away from that anyway, so that's not going to affect us. And if whatever the new thing is they're doing, we may, you know, we take inspiration from everything. So, and what was your other thing? Oh, I'm sure there will be a Superman down the line.
Still wants to know about the trunks.
I'll say both. How's that?
How you doing? What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Adon. My question is to the entire panel. Out of all the characters that have held the mantle of Robin, which Robin is your favorite and why?
No comment.
Good question.
Burt Ward. Burt Ward.
I like Carrie Kelly because she was in Dark Knight Returns.
I'll go with the Burt Ward just because that was the Robin of my childhood.
I guess not
Say
necessarily.
Young Justice Robin.
Young Justice Robin. Well, my favorite Robin was always Dick Grayson because he's the first, and he's, Damian is awesome.
the sexiest.
And I think that he's a legitimate heir to the Robin sort of title. But with Dick, you have a guy who brings a little bit of color and levity to the bleak and grim world of Batman. So I've always just liked him the best. Plus, he grows up to become Nightwing, so which is one of the grandest characters in DC. Period.
What he said. Exactly. Dick Grayson because he becomes Nightwing. My favorite.
No, what am I supposed to say? Damien.
I was not expecting that. Thank you.
So given we like
I
him.
guess maybe I have to choose between two because first off I'm biased because the Damien thing, that's the first of all. But also I guess I would pick Dick Grayson because after all he was the first Robin and he started it all, and also he does Nightwing, what you guys said.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Blood is thicker than water, and I'm sitting next to him, so.
Good answer.
All right, our next question. I saw you bopping over there. You're super excited, so I hope you have a really good question.
Okay, I'm Maya, and I'm really excited because I was here last year, and the DVD release comes out on my birthday.
Happy early birthday! Which is April 14th. That's when the DVD comes out, guys.
Nice plug.
I'm going to say it. Last year I really liked the movie, and this year it was even better. And there were a lot of really, really good moments. What's your favorite out of all of them?
wow.
When Damian hugs Batman, that's my favorite. I forgot about it until today, and I was like, oh wow, that's really nice.
Jay's gonna take mine.
What?
You're gonna get mine first, for sure.
Oh, maybe. No, mine is actually the Nightwing Damien fight early because when I watched Son of Batman, I was thinking to myself, you really need to show them fighting. And so when I read James' script and they actually got a babysitter, I just thought, time to do some fan service, do some Damien versus Nightwing, and just go all out. So that's one of my favorite sequences.
I've seen you mentioned before with Alfred and little Bruce. It's one of the quietest scenes in the movie, but that's the scene that really jumped out at me. I loved writing it, and I loved the way it was realized on the screen. There was another moment though, and I saw it again tonight, really early with the doll maker sequence when that kid comes out of the cage. That's supposed to be in the script. This is just, we did this. And the way that Batman kind of hesitated and reacted before he hugged that kid was beautiful. It was a great moment.
Shotgun Alfred? What's up? Right? My God. Brutal. Definitely.
I like the trippy scene. I thought that was so wonderfully animated that when everything starts vibrating,
Oh, yeah.
it just looks so. it just is so bizarre and wonderful. I don't think we've ever done anything like that before in any of the videos that we've done. It was quite remarkable.
I was gonna say Alfred and the shotgun. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
How about when he kept firing the shotgun?
All right. I guess mine would be, I guess, a choice between two. First off, the Nightwing and Damien scene. I just really like the fighting scene. It's just really cool. And also, when Talon, this is like more of a curious scene for me. Like when Talon kills himself using Damien, it's like this weird way where, like, basically, you know, he thought what he was doing was right all his life, and after just seeing what he's done, I guess he just couldn't live with himself, but he just didn't want to admit to himself that he committed suicide. So, yeah, he used Damien in his place somewhat. Yeah, it's I just like it. It seemed really curious to me.
I thought it was going to be get the hell out of my cave.
That's mine.
But I was so distracted with right before that. I kind of said sons of bitches, and the bitches kind of came out a bit Irish. I don't know if you know.
Wait, can you just do it right now?
Yes, sons of bitches. It was a bit like Batman had a couple in the pub beforehand.
Sometimes you get punched that many times.
Get the hell out of me, King! Get off me lawn!
All right, and we'll take one last question. Sorry, guys.
That's sad. Make it good.
Better be good.
First off, Sean Mayer, you're my new favorite voice actor, because Nightwing, I mean, come on.
Oh wow, thank you.
And I really get Nightwing back, so I have to ask a question regarding to that. Really. So, I think it's directed for the question towards Jay Olivia. It's more regarding when you guys are choosing your villains for the movie, for Court of the Owls. I was wondering, do you guys ever go in depth or like in detail about the origin of Court of the Owls? Because in their New 52 Nightwing, it goes in more detail and seems to be revolving more around Richard Grayson, the origin of the Court of Owls and how it came to be. So I was wondering how you kind of didn't much include it in the movie, like, because I noticed maybe somewhat of Easter egg when it mentioned how Richard Grayson would have been a good talent. I noticed that it seemed a little bit extra piece of maybe from the book, if you may know if you read through it, but it really seemed to revolve more around there. And William Cobb was never mentioned about the Court of the Owls. That's why I was confused. Like, you know, I know it's revolved in the comic book for Richard Grayson and the origin and how William Cobb is actually grandfather and how he was the one kind of cheated it on. So I was wondering what
You seem to know a lot.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, you have to remember.
Where do you want to go with that, Jay?
That was like 2 movies right there.
You have to remember that this is a different continuity from the comics. So, like, a lot of the things that had happened to the Batman that we love and know is different in this continuity. In this continuity, this is basically part 4 of what we started in Justice League War. So you've only seen that. So going into in-depth and going into the Court of Owls and the background that was in the comics, I think that was fantastic. And of course, I read all the way through. I have to do some research a little bit. But the thing is, you gotta remember, like, we try as much as we can to make it work organically. This is a story about really Damien and his father, Bruce. And also, you know, that narrative, it just lended itself really nicely for the Court of Owls. Now, that doesn't mean that the Court of Owls is gone. There's no reason we can't bring back the Court of Owls. We might have the European faction of the Court of Owls or something show up, and we can bring in, you know, the Nightwing storyline that we did like from the comics. The nice thing about the way that we rebooted kind of the DC universe is that, you know, sky's the limit. We can do anything we want, and it's kind of fun. And not adhering to a straight adaptation kind of lets you, the audience, not know where we're going, and hopefully have some surprises and as well as some nostalgia from things that we do draw upon, things that you love.
Sky is definitely the limit with these movies. Thank you guys so much. Let's say a big thank you to all of our panel tonight. Phil Barassa, Andrea Romano, Sean Marr, Stuart Allen, and Jason Omar. And everybody that asked a question, you guys come on over to the side of the stage to claim your prizes. thank you guys again all so much for coming out tonight. And make sure on Tuesday you download the digital HD film, right? And pick up your copy of the movie on April 14th. You guys are gonna do that, right? Yeah! All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our creative team and cast of DC and Warner Brothers Animation Entertainment's Batman vs. Robin, and our special guest moderator from DC All Access, Ms. Tiffany Smith.